Greetings, traveler. If you're someone who is considering putting your game on Kickstarter to continue its funding and hopefully get enough funding to complete the game, then today's video is for you. Today what I want to do is share the 3 things that I would do before putting my game, hypothetically, on Kickstarter and why each one of them is important. If you don't know who I am, my name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for over 14 years now. I've worked on some big IP out there like FIFA, Idolmaster, Star Ocean, and a few more. And over the years, the idea of kickstarting something or crowdfunding in general seemed more and more pro-gaming. So instead of relying on the big companies and big publishers to fund games, we could just rely on the fans to fund the games and see them completed. Having seen a few of these projects happen and many more stay just a simple idea or just a simple project page on Kickstarter, I was collecting my thoughts in a sense, and I was putting together a list of things that I would do before putting my game on Kickstarter if I chose to go in that direction. So having observed some successful games that I saw being kickstarted, and also that I was myself one of the people who supported these games like Kingdom Death, both their Kickstarters, and Wasteland 2 and 3, I believe, also Pillars of Eternity, also Bloodlines 2, although that's perhaps a bit of a special case. But anyway, I was following these projects as a supporter and seeing their journey through time, and sort of wanted to understand what made them successful versus all the other things I followed that not only didn't end up happening, but also I, as a supporter, didn't feel like I had a good chance of seeing that game completed, even if I supported it. So to jump into the first one, I would say something that's super important for me as a supporter, from my experience up to now, and also for me as a developer, if I were to go that route, would be having the game in a pretty good completion state. So not just a concept, not just a drawing, not just someone talking on the camera about all their hopes and dreams, but rather actual gameplay, even if it's not of the full game quite yet. So this can take 2 forms, I think. This is 2 ways I would approach this. One would be having somewhere around the entirety of the game completed in gray box or some sort of a prototype stage like that. So most of the levels with most of the mechanics, most of the abilities, basically everything you can do in the game is already there, but the final graphics are not there, hence the Kickstarter. The other form that's more common is the game itself is not quite yet complete, but a slice of it is. So if the game has 10 levels, for example, level 5 is completely there, or chapter 5 or something like that. So you can see what the game will look like, you can see what it will feel like, you can get an understanding of all the abilities and all the skills and mechanics of the game, at least in this very narrow slice, and then your mind can fill in the details and say, okay, if this is what the game feels like halfway in a playthrough, then this kind of gives you an idea of what the game before that and the game after would look like. So having that gives the player a very good idea of what to expect once the game is complete, once the game is funded, and so on. And it gives the developer a very clear understanding of what's left. So if the game is complete in gray box, for example, and only the graphics are left, then you know that the remaining budget will go basically all towards that. Or if the cost of a single level was, let's say, I don't know, $50,000, and you want to make 10 of these levels, then you know you need another $450,000. And it's a very simple way, but grounded in reality way, to give you an estimation of how much you need as a developer and what the players can expect for the amount of money that that's remaining to be funded. So moving to the second point, I would definitely prepare before starting a Kickstarter or even considering it, would be the marketing materials, so to speak. So that would be not just videos of people talking, or even a gray box prototype situation or videos, but rather something that's visually stunning to communicate the basic idea of the game. So perhaps the game itself is not complete, but a few seconds of a scene could be presented with full graphics or near full graphics, near polished situation. Of course, that's going to be difficult and it's going to be very costly. So this can be later on supplemented with additional concept art, additional short video clips that show perhaps just one move in the game, or just one attack, or a couple of monsters walking, something that gives a very tangible feeling about what the atmosphere of the game is going to be and what will its visual signature be. It's difficult, I found, to communicate an idea without some visual anchor. So something in full color, full graphics, and so on. Now, the third thing I would definitely prepare is what's remaining for the game to be complete. And this is something I think that most people in the games industry are struggling the most with, because I mean, we naturally want to make every single game we make as good as possible, right? So if you ask us how much time do you need to polish it, well, an eternity would be nice, perhaps 2 or 3. So of course you want as much time as possible, but going with the earlier approach of having the whole game ready in gray box, or having just a slice of the game ready, but at 100%. So let's say from the 10 chapters of the game, all of chapter 5, or let's say your game has 10 continents to explore, fully completing one of them. Then that gives you a very clear idea about what's left. So this is how long one area, sorry, or one chapter or one level took us. So we have a general idea about how long the rest are going to take. And if you're going with the gray box approach, then you already know how many characters you need, how many levels you need, how many attack animations, how many special effects, how many enemy models, all of that good stuff. So that, in the third point, can be directly mapped to the funds required to complete the game. So you don't have a vague situation like, give us $1 million and yeah, we'll make the game. But you yourself as a developer have a good idea of what's required to finish the game and how it all maps out. Now, of course, there's changes, and schedules tend to change, and things cost more as time goes on. But again, that's something with experience that you can include in your calculations, and hopefully the Kickstarter amount, or the crowdfunding amount in general, has a good buffer built into it. And also, I've seen games use the stretch goal approach like that very often, and it's an approach that helps both the developer and the users. So perhaps adding one character doesn't cost, I don't know, $10,000 or $30,000 or whatever the Kickstarter requires, but for someone who supports it, or rather for a project altogether, having a few more supporters is not the most difficult thing in the world if you already have some supporting the game to justify the additional content. And it gives the buffer the developer needs to cover additional costs, or something not going well, or some additional R&D necessary, and so on. So to summarize, the 3 points I would definitely consider before going to Kickstarter is having the game mostly done in gray box prototype stage, or in slice of game mode, so just part of the game but developed completely. The second point would be some visual material, hopefully with fully modeled and fully in color parts of the game. So action sequences, gameplay parts, character animations, monsters doing their thing, and so on. It doesn't need to be hours long because that would be the game itself, but just a few seconds that show the identity of the game together with some concept art and perhaps a short video that's purely cinematic would do its part to convey the identity of the game. And finally, the mapping of what's left to be developed in the game mapped to what kind of cost are we looking at to complete the game. So those two would need to have a more or less coherent mapping between them. This keeps things clear for the developer, and it communicates what exactly is happening to the to the supporters' money in this project. And of course, there's one more thing that's absolutely necessary, and I suppose that's a bonus step, but it is absolutely necessary, and that's the marketing campaign itself. So I've seen several projects that start as Kickstarter projects, but or in some other platform, but usually these projects are time limited, right? You cannot kickstart it forever. You have to get the funds together in a set amount of time. So if in that set amount of time the internet doesn't happen to pick up your project, then it's a shame because the money won't be gathered in time and the project will not go forward, which really is a shame, especially given how much work everybody puts into their games. So some sort of marketing campaign that runs in parallel with the Kickstarter project itself is, I think, absolutely necessary. I would definitely prepare it. And that would look something like you have a YouTuber friend who covers games, who wants to make several videos on this game and at least let their audience know about the game. Or you hire a marketing company to tell people about it, maybe make a few short videos to showcase the game and say that it's running right now and it has to be kickstarted until X day of Y month and so on. It's very specific and it communicates the urgency of the project. Or they just do the same thing with other influencers, but on a more global marketing level, depending on how ambitious the project is. So this seems very obvious, but if you think of it the other way around, the way many small developers think about it, the way I would think about it earlier on in my career would be, well, my game is great, and if people see it on Kickstarter, they will love it because it's what everybody wants, rather. So of course everybody would support it and let their friends know. But as we know, people are very sluggish in this way. They basically never let their friends know. So something to simply to let them know that this is going on, and something to remind them to, of course, support and let the people they think would be interested in this kind of thing take a look, I think would be absolutely necessary. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope this helps at least one person getting their game ready out there. And if you have questions about this, I would be happy to answer what I can. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, and as always, have fun.